bet you didn't know that Abraham Galloway was about that life. Described as a mix between Malcolm X and James Bond, this man fled to Canada to escape slavery, but came back looking for revenge. Legend has it that he once said, "A slave will not be free without much killing," and bro meant every word. When he heard that Haitian revolutionaries were planning to attack the American South to help free black people, he hopped on the first boat to Haiti he could find. Galloway really wrote for the culture. He never learned to read or write, but he was written about all over the country. When the Union Army recruited him to be a spy, he held a Union recruiter at gunpoint until his demands were met. You may be wondering what those demands were. The promise of equal pay for new black recruits, school for black children, and jobs for black women. Yeah, that's that king behavior.
Well, it is the final week of Black History Month, and while it is still legal in the state of Florida, tonight we want to do something a little bit different, and not just in the fashion sense. Boop. Well, instead of talking about the painful history that encompasses so much of the history of Africans in America, we wanted to highlight some of the kick-ass black history, like the story that we just played. And to do that, we have Garrison Hayes, TikTok's unofficial history professor, who uses his platform to talk about black history and tell the badass stories that you probably have not heard before. And Garrison Hayes joins me now. He is now creator in residence at Mother Jones and one of my favorite follows on TikTok. Hey, Garrison, thank you for being here.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. Tell us more of this story. I love this story of Abraham Galloway. Tell us a little bit more about him.
So Abraham Galloway is born in 1907 in North Carolina, and he escapes slavery, goes to Canada. And the thing about Abraham Galloway that I love so much is that he is just really committed to the liberation of his people. As soon as he hears that Haitian revolutionaries are interested in attacking the South in order to free black people there, he hops on the first boat he can to get to Haiti. He ends up back in the United States. And not long after that, the United States the Union Army recruits him because he knows how to navigate the South. They need his expertise. And as I said in the video, he really leverages that moment to advocate for black children, for black women, for other black men. He's this incredibly liberating figure who goes after the Civil War to continue to push for change in America. I mean, he's a signer. He helps to ratify the 14th and the 15th Amendments. This guy is absolutely incredible, and it's always amazing to me. You know, I told his story online, and how many people are saying, "I've never heard of this person before." Yeah. It's always incredible to me because he's so amazing.
Well, you know, it's so funny. I consider myself to be, well, first I'm a super nerd, and I consider myself to be pretty knowledgeable about history and black history. I had never heard of him until I saw it on your TikTok. So you're right. This is somebody that is not taught in schools. Talk about some of your other favorite characters in black history. Charles Hamilton Houston, I know, is one of the other ones that you've done a piece on. Talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, I really love Charles Hamilton Houston. He's really the architect of the legal side of the civil rights movement. You know, he recognized that white liberals did not have the guts to pass pro-black legislation. And so he devised a plan to really attack it from the legal side, to take cases to every level of the judiciary to get things like overturned, overturned. And so he finds the perfect case in Missouri where a black man had applied to be admitted to Missouri's law school. And they, of course, because of the color of his skin, don't let him in. And so they sue and say, well, if Missouri doesn't have a separate but equal law school for black people, then violating the Constitution. And of course they won. And that was kind of the starting point of what would eventually lead to the end of segregation. Thinking about Brown versus Board of Education, we would not have gotten there without Mr. Hamilton Houston's efforts and his brilliant mind.
You know, what I love about your TikTok and what you do for history is that you're filling in the blanks on some of the ways that we got to things like Brown v. Board, where people think these things just happen out of nowhere. They happen because of a lot of activism, things that build toward things like Brown. But you also do stories. I mean, I love the stories of like the military heroes, the pilots, like the things that we don't hear about, because I feel like we are kind of trained to believe that black history began with slavery and ended with Dr. King saying just that one sentence. But there's so much more to it. There's another great story that you do a history on, Althea Gibson. We got to get a woman in there. Talk a little bit about Althea Gibson.
Althea Gibson's one of my favorites, specific about Black resilience and amazing community. So she's born in the segregated South on a cotton farm to parents who are sharecroppers. So she's coming of the direct legacy and evolution of slavery, right? But her family, just like millions of other African Americans, said the South ain't it. We don't want to be here anymore. So they picked up and they moved to New York during what's called the Great Migration. And when they get there, Althea is still really struggling. She's skipping school. She's not doing well in her classes. And that's where community part comes into focus. First, collect an offering. They pull their money and they pay for her to get tennis lessons and break many incredible barriers. A professional athlete. She wins Roland Garros in France. She wins Wimbledon in front of the Queen. I mean, she is this incredible figure. Truly, we wouldn't have the Serena Williams, the Venus Williams, the Coco Gauff. We wouldn't have an Althea Gibson first.
What kind of a reaction do you get from TikTok? Is it more like me going, wait a minute, I didn't know that story? Or, do you get some of the pushback that we're seeing against learning Black history in schools? Like, what is the general reaction that you get to your posts?
It's really interesting. So I get a mixed bag. I think the thing that encourages me the most is that I just got a comment literally 20 minutes ago on one of my videos where someone said, hey, I never knew about this before. I'm going to put them up the wall in my classroom, right? So there's so many people who are finding out this history in action. And so it's really great to see the impact that it's having in the real world. Not just clicks and scrolls and hearts and comments, but we're having a real life impact. Of course, I get the haters as well. Like that's just naturally going to be a part of it. But the positive outweighs the negative, of course.
I am waiting for you yourself to be banned in the state of Florida, because I'm sure Ron DeSantis is not enjoying anything that you're doing. I bet he doesn't follow you on TikTok, or he follows you for all the wrong reasons to hate on you. But Garrison Hayes, we love you. Thank you so much. This is the Kick-Ass Black History we needed today. Thank you. And up next, tomorrow.